The morning mist clings to the valley, soft and unyielding, like the silence that settles in the heart when you pause to breathe. It is here in this quietude that you might begin to notice the rhythm of life, not as a hurried march, but as a slow, deliberate dance. The trees do not strain to grow. Their branches reach toward the sky in their own time, each leaf unfurling when the season calls. The earth does not rush to turn, yet it spins, steady and sure, carrying you along its path. You are part of this great unfolding, and like the earth, you need not hurry to arrive where you are meant to be. Patience is not a virtue to be grasped, but a way of seeing, a lens through which the world reveals its true nature. Think of the lotus, rooted in muddy waters, yet untouched by the chaos around it. It does not struggle to bloom. It simply waits for the moment when the sun's warmth and the water's embrace align. And when it opens, it does so completely without hesitation or regret. In its stillness, it teaches you something profound, that all things come in their own time, and that forcing them only obscures their beauty. You too are a lotus in the making. Your growth may feel slow, invisible even, but every moment of waiting is a moment of becoming. Consider the clouds drifting aimlessly yet purposefully across the sky. They do not cling to their shape, nor do they resist the wind's gentle push. They simply are, flowing with the currents, dissolving and reforming as the heavens dictate. There is a lesson here, one that whispers of surrender and acceptance. When you resist the flow of life, when you strain against the currents, you create ripples of unease within yourself. But when you let go, when you allow yourself to be carried, you find that the journey is not so much about reaching a destination as it is about being present for the ride. The clouds do not worry about where they are going. They trust in the vastness of the sky. Can you trust in the vastness of your own life? There is a story of a monk who planted a bamboo seed. For years, he watered it, tended to it, and waited. The ground remained still, and no shoot appeared. Others questioned his efforts, urging him to abandon what seemed a fruitless task. But the monk continued, undeterred. Then in the 5th year, the bamboo sprouted, growing several feet in a matter of weeks. What seemed like delay was, in truth, preparation. The roots had been deepening, unseen, gathering strength for the moment of emergence. Your life, too, may feel like that bamboo seed. You may not see the growth, but beneath the surface, something is stirring. Trust that the roots are doing their work, even when the ground feels barren. The seasons do not argue with one another. They simply follow their course. Winter does not resent spring for its warmth, nor does summer begrudge autumn its coolness. Each has its place, its purpose, and its time. And so it is with the seasons of your life. There will be moments of barrenness, when the world feels cold and distant, and moments of abundance, when everything seems to bloom at once. Neither is permanent, nor is either to be feared. Winter teaches stillness, spring teaches renewal, summer teaches fullness, and autumn teaches release. Each season carries its own wisdom, and each is necessary for the whole. Can you embrace the season you are in, knowing that it too shall pass? In the stillness of a forest, you might notice how the trees stand tall, their roots entwined beneath the soil. They do not compete for space. They share it, each one supporting the others in unseen ways. Their strength lies in their interconnectedness, in their ability to grow together rather than apart. You are not so different. Your life is woven into the lives of others, a tapestry of shared experiences and silent understandings. The patience you cultivate for yourself ripples outward, touching those around you. When you allow yourself to grow at your own pace, you give others permission to do the same. Patience, then, is not just a personal practice, but a gift to the world. There is a quiet power in waiting, a strength that comes from knowing that not everything needs to be done today. Think of the moon, waxing and waning in its own rhythm. It does not rush to become full, nor does it cling to its brightness. It simply is, a steady presence in the ever-changing sky. There is a lesson in its constancy, one that speaks of trust and resilience. The moon reminds you that even in the darkest nights, light returns in its own time. Your own light, too, will find its way back to you, if only you can wait with an open heart. The river does not question its path. It follows the contours of the land, carving its way through stone and soil with a quiet determination. It does not struggle against the obstacles in its way. It flows around them, over them, through them. Over time, it wears down even the hardest rock, not through force, but through persistence. There is a patience inherent in this process, a trust that the journey itself is the destination. You too are a river flowing through the landscape of your life. The obstacles you face are not meant to stop you, but to shape you, to guide you toward the sea of your own becoming. In the stillness of meditation, you might notice how the mind, like a restless bird, flits from thought to thought. It seeks, it grasps, it resists. But when you sit with it, when you allow it to be as it is, something shifts. The bird settles, the thoughts slow, and beneath them, you find a vast, unbroken silence. This silence is not empty. It is full, alive with the presence of the moment. It is here that patience reveals its deepest gift, the ability to be fully present, to meet life as it is rather than as you wish it to be. In this presence, you discover that everything you need is already here, waiting for you to notice. The world moves at its own pace, indifferent to your impatience. The sun rises and sets, the tides ebb and flow, the stars wheel across the sky. These rhythms are older than you, wiser than you, and yet they are part of you. When you align yourself with them, when you let go of the need to control, you find a peace that is both ancient and new. It is the peace of knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be, even if it does not feel like it. And so you wait, not with resignation, but with curiosity, with openness, with a heart that is willing to receive whatever comes. For in the end, it is not the waiting that matters, but what you become in the process. You stand at the edge of a vast meadow, its grasses swaying in the breeze like the slow, deliberate breath of the earth. The air is heavy with the scent of blooming wildflowers, their colors a patchwork of life's quiet persistence. In this moment, you might feel the urge to rush forward, to pluck the flowers, to claim the horizon as your own. But the meadow whispers a truth, carried on the wind. There is no need to hurry. The flowers will bloom in their own time. The sun will set when it is ready, and the earth will turn without your insistence. You are here not to control, but to witness, not to grasp, but to allow. Patience is not a virtue of the will, but a surrender to the rhythm of existence. Think of the way a tree grows. It does not strain against its roots, demanding to be taller, fuller, sooner. It simply reaches for the sky, one ring at a time, trusting the seasons to shape its form. Its patience is not passivity, but a deep alignment with the forces that nourish it. You too are a part of this natural order. Your life, like the trees, unfolds in cycles. Springs of growth, summers of abundance, autumns of release, winters of rest. To resist this rhythm is to uproot yourself from the very soil that sustains you. There is a story of a young monk who planted a sapling in the monastery garden. Each day he would water it, then gently tug at its stem, urging it to grow faster. His teacher, noticing this, said to him, "You cannot pull the plant taller. You can only create the conditions for it to thrive." The monk, chastened, stopped his tugging. Years later, the sapling had become a sturdy tree, its branches offering shade and shelter. The lesson was clear. Growth is not something you force, but something you allow. In your own life, you may find yourself tugging at the stem, impatient for change, for answers, for resolution. You may feel as though you are running against a current, fighting to reach some distant shore. But consider the river. It does not struggle to reach the ocean. It flows, winding through valleys and plains, carving its path with a quiet certainty. It knows that every bend, every rock, every eddy is part of its journey. It does not curse the obstacles, but embraces them, trusting that they are shaping its course. You too are flowing, even when the current feels slow, even when the way is unclear. Patience is not the absence of desire, but the willingness to hold it lightly. You may long for love, for success, for healing, for peace. These desires are not wrong. They are the seeds of your becoming. But a seed does not burst into bloom the moment it is planted. It must first break open in the dark soil, its roots reaching downward even as its stem stretches upward. There is a time for waiting, for composting, for the unseen work of transformation. And just as a seed knows when to emerge, so too does your own growth have its perfect timing. The Buddha once said, "What you are is what you have been. What you will be is what you do now." This is not a call to urgency, but an invitation to presence. The present moment is the only soil in which your future can take root. To rush is to uproot yourself from this fertile ground, to abandon the now for the illusion of the next. But when you settle into the present, when you allow yourself to be exactly where you are, you align with the natural unfolding of your life. You become like the moon, which does not hurry to rise, but simply appears full and radiant in its own time. There is a deep wisdom in the cycles of nature, a wisdom that does not need to be learned but remembered. The caterpillar does not question its transformation into a butterfly. It spins its cocoon and rests, trusting the process, even when it cannot see the wings it will one day unfurl. You too are in a cocoon of sorts, a chrysalis of becoming. The impatience you feel is not a failing, but a sign of your aliveness, your readiness to emerge. Yet the cocoon cannot be rushed. It is a sacred space, a womb of possibility. To resist it is to resist your own transformation. Consider the way the clouds drift across the sky, unhurried, unburdened. They do not cling to their shapes, but allow the wind to sculpt them anew. One moment they are a lion, the next a mountain, then nothing at all. They teach the art of surrender, of letting go. You too are like the clouds, your life a series of forms that arise and dissolve. To cling to any one form is to invite suffering, but to flow with the currents of change is to find a profound freedom. Patience is not a waiting for something to happen, but a deepening into what is already here. It is the recognition that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. The answers you seek are not out there, waiting to be found, but within you, waiting to be revealed. Like a lotus rising from the mud, your wisdom emerges in its own time. You cannot force it to bloom, but you can create the conditions for it to unfold. Stillness, openness, trust. There is a word in Sanskrit, sabba, which means all or everything. It is a reminder that life is not fragmented but whole, not divided but interconnected. The impatience you feel is a kind of fragmentation, a splitting off from the whole. But when you return to the present moment, when you allow yourself to be exactly as you are, you touch the wholeness of life. You become one with the meadow, the river, the tree, the cloud. You realize that you are not separate from the unfolding, but an integral part of it. And so, as you stand at the edge of the meadow, take a deep breath. Feel the earth beneath your feet, the sky above your head. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly where you need to be. The flowers will bloom. The river will flow. The sun will set. And you, in your own time, will unfold. There is no need to hurry. Everything comes in its own season. Everything arrives exactly when it should. The world moves in rhythms unseen, like the slow unfurling of a fern in the shadowed forest. You too are part of this rhythm, though often you may feel out of step, rushing ahead or lagging behind, as if the tempo of life were a melody you could not quite catch. But listen closely and you will hear it, the steady pulse of existence, the heartbeat of the universe. It is not a call to hurry, nor a demand to wait. It is an invitation to be present, to rest in the knowing that all things arrive in their own time, like the moon rising over the horizon, unhurried and inevitable. Consider the oak tree, standing tall and silent in the meadow. It does not strain to grow faster, nor does it lament the slowness of its roots deepening into the earth. It simply is, trusting the seasons to bring what it needs: sunlight, rain, the turning of the years. And in time it becomes a sanctuary, its branches sheltering birds, its leaves whispering secrets to the wind. You too are growing, though the process may be invisible to your eyes. Beneath the surface of your daily life, roots are spreading, anchoring you in the soil of your being. Do not uproot yourself with impatience. Trust the unseen work of becoming. There is a quiet wisdom in the way the river flows, never forcing its path, yet always finding its way to the sea. It does not resist the rocks that block its course. It simply moves around them, carving new channels with a patience that knows no urgency. When you encounter obstacles, remember the river. You need not fight against what stands in your way. Instead, let your life flow around it, trusting that the path will reveal itself in time. The river does not question its journey, nor does it doubt its destination. It simply moves, and in its movement, it finds freedom. The seasons, too, teach us about the art of waiting. Winter is not a time of barrenness, but of rest, of gathering strength for the renewal that spring will bring. The earth does not rush to bloom. It waits for the right moment when the air is warm and the soil is ready. And when the first green shoots emerge, they do so with a quiet confidence, as if they have always known their time would come. You too are in a season of your life, though it may not be the one you expected or desired. Do not wish it away. There is a purpose in this moment, a lesson in this stillness. Allow yourself to be where you are, knowing that the next season will arrive when it is meant to. Patience is not passivity. It is an active surrender, a willingness to trust the unfolding of life, even when the path is unclear. It is the ability to sit with discomfort, to hold space for uncertainty, and to find peace in the midst of waiting. Think of the lotus, rooted in the mud, yet rising above the water to bloom in the sunlight. It does not struggle to escape its origins. It transforms them, turning the darkness into beauty. You too can find light in the shadows, growth in the waiting. The mud of your struggles is not a prison, but a fertile ground for transformation. There is a story of a monk who planted a bamboo seed and watered it every day for years, though no shoot appeared. Others mocked him, saying his efforts were in vain. But the monk continued, unwavering in his faith. And then one day, the bamboo sprouted, growing several feet in a matter of weeks. The roots had been growing all along, unseen, preparing for the moment when the plant would burst forth into the world. Your efforts, too, may seem fruitless at times, but beneath the surface, something is taking shape. Trust the process, even when you cannot see the results. The mind, like a restless bird, often flits from branch to branch, seeking something to grasp, something to hold on to. It craves certainty, control, a sense of knowing what comes next. But life is not a map to be followed. It is a mystery to be lived. When you release the need to know, to plan, to predict, you open yourself to the beauty of the unknown. The present moment becomes a gift, not a problem to be solved. You begin to see that every experience, every emotion, every challenge is part of the tapestry of your life, woven with threads of light and shadow. In the stillness of meditation, you may find a glimpse of this truth. The breath rises and falls, a reminder that life is a series of moments, each one complete in itself. You do not need to rush to the next breath, nor cling to the one that is past. Simply be with the one that is here now. In this way, you learn to live with patience, not as a burden, but as a practice of presence. The present moment is all there is, and it is enough. The world will continue to turn, the seasons will continue to change, and life will continue to unfold in its own time. You cannot control the pace, but you can choose how you meet each moment. Will you resist, clinging to what you think should be? Or will you surrender, opening your heart to what is? The choice is yours, but know this: in the act of surrender, you find freedom. In the practice of patience, you find peace. And in the flow of life, you find yourself not as you wish to be, but as you are, whole, complete, and perfectly timed. The world moves in rhythms unseen, like the slow unfurling of a fern in the shadowed forest. You too are part of this rhythm, though often you may feel out of step, rushing ahead or lagging behind, as if the tempo of life were a melody you could not quite catch. But listen closely and you will hear it, the steady pulse of existence, the heartbeat of the universe. It is not hurried, nor is it delayed. It simply is. And in its presence there is a lesson, one that whispers to you in the rustle of leaves and the sigh of the wind. Do not rush. Everything comes in its time. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast meadow, the kind where the grass sways in waves and the horizon stretches endlessly. You are waiting for something, perhaps an answer, a change, a moment of clarity. The waiting feels heavy, like a stone in your chest, and you wonder if the meadow will ever yield what you seek. But look closer. The grass does not strain to grow. It simply rises, inch by inch, in harmony with the sun and the rain. The flowers do not fret over their blooming. They open when the season is right. And the birds do not hurry their songs. They sing when the dawn calls them. There is a patience here, a trust in the natural order of things. Can you feel it? Can you let it seep into your bones? Patience is not passivity. It is not resignation or indifference. It is an active surrender, a willingness to align yourself with the flow of life rather than fight against it. Think of the river that carves its path through stone. It does not force its way. It simply persists, drop by drop, until the rock yields. In the same way, your patience is a quiet strength, a recognition that some things cannot be hastened, only allowed. When you resist this truth, you create friction, like a branch snapping in a storm. But when you yield, you become like the willow, bending gracefully in the wind, rooted deeply in the earth. There is a story of a monk who planted a tree in his garden. Each day, he watered it, tended to it, and waited for it to grow. But the tree seemed to take forever, and the monk grew impatient. One day, in frustration, he tugged at the sapling, hoping to encourage it. The roots tore, and the tree withered. The monk wept, realizing too late that his impatience had destroyed what he sought to nurture. The lesson is clear. Growth cannot be forced. It requires time, care, and trust. And so it is with your own life. The seeds you plant, your dreams, your intentions, your efforts will bear fruit, but only when the conditions are right. Can you wait with an open heart, even when the soil feels barren? In the stillness of your mind, you may find a restless energy, a voice that urges you to act, to control, to make things happen. This voice is not your enemy, but it is not your guide either. It is the echo of a world that values speed over depth, achievement over presence. But you are not bound by its demands. You can choose to step back, to breathe, to observe. In this space of observation, you may notice something profound, that much of your impatience arises from fear. Fear of missing out, fear of failure, fear of being left behind. These fears are like clouds passing across the sky. They may obscure the sun, but they do not extinguish it. Beneath them, there is a deeper truth, that you are exactly where you need to be, and that everything you seek is already on its way to you. Consider the seasons. Winter does not begrudge the spring for taking its time. Summer does not rush the arrival of autumn. Each season knows its place, its purpose, its moment. And in this knowing, there is a profound acceptance, a harmony that transcends time. You too are part of this cycle. There are winters in your life, times of stillness, of waiting, of seeming emptiness. And there are springs, times of renewal, of growth, of blossoming. Neither is better or worse. Both are necessary. Can you embrace the season you are in, even if it is not the one you would choose? Can you trust that the next season will come as surely as the sun rises and sets? There is a quiet joy in patience, a joy that is often overlooked in the rush of daily life. It is the joy of watching a butterfly emerge from its chrysalis, of seeing the first star appear in the evening sky, of hearing the first notes of a songbird at dawn. These moments are not grand or dramatic, but they are deeply nourishing, like the first sip of water after a long journey. When you slow down, when you allow yourself to be present, you open yourself to this joy. It is always there, waiting for you, like a hidden stream in the forest. You need only pause to find it. And so, as you move through your days, remember this: life is not a race to be won or a puzzle to be solved. It is a dance, a song, a story unfolding in its own time. You are not here to control it, but to participate in it, to flow with it, to learn from it. When you feel the urge to rush, to push, to force, take a breath. Look to the meadow, the river, the seasons. Let them remind you of the wisdom of patience, the beauty of waiting, the peace of acceptance. Everything comes in its time, and when it does, you will know that it was worth the wait. The world moves in rhythms, unseen, like the slow unfurling of a fern in the shadowed forest. You too are part of this rhythm, though often you may feel out of step, rushing ahead or lagging behind, as if the tempo of life were a melody you could not quite catch. But listen closely, and you will hear it, the steady pulse of existence, the heartbeat of the universe. It is not hurried, nor is it delayed. It simply is. And in its presence, there is a lesson, one that whispers to you in the rustle of leaves and the sigh of the wind. Do not rush. Everything comes in its time. Imagine the lotus rooted in the mud, its petals tightly closed. It does not force itself to bloom under the harsh glare of the sun, nor does it despair when the rains come and go. It waits, patient and still, until the moment is right. And when it opens, it is not for the approval of the world, but because it has reached its fullness, its readiness. You too are like the lotus. Your growth, your unfolding, cannot be hastened by will alone. It is a process, a dance with time, and in that dance there is beauty, even in the waiting. Consider the seasons, how they turn with a quiet inevitability. Winter does not begrudge the spring its flowers, nor does summer demand the harvest before its time. Each season knows its place, its purpose, and in that knowing there is a deep acceptance. You too have seasons, times of planting, times of waiting, times of reaping. And though you may long to skip ahead, to bypass the cold or the barrenness, remember that each season holds its own wisdom. The frost teaches resilience, the fallow ground teaches patience, and the harvest teaches gratitude. To rush through any of them is to miss the gifts they offer. There is a river that flows through the heart of every life, a current that carries you forward, even when you cannot see its destination. Sometimes the waters are calm, and you float effortlessly, carried by the gentle pull of the stream. Other times the current is swift, and you must struggle to keep your head above the surface. But the river does not stop, nor does it turn back. It moves with a purpose, even if that purpose is hidden from you. And in its movement, there is a lesson: trust. Trust that the river knows where it is going, even when you do not. Trust that it will carry you to where you need to be, even if the journey is longer or more winding than you had hoped. Patience is not passivity. It is not resignation or indifference. It is an active engagement with the present moment, a willingness to be where you are, fully and completely, without longing for what is not yet or regretting what is past. It is the recognition that life is not a race to be won, but a journey to be lived. And in that recognition, there's a profound freedom. You are released from the tyranny of urgency, from the constant pressure to achieve, to acquire, to arrive. You are free to simply be. Think of the mountain, standing tall and unmoving, its peak often shrouded in clouds. It does not strive to reach the sky, nor does it fret when the storms come and go. It simply is, rooted in the earth, enduring through the ages. You too can be like the mountain, steadfast, grounded, unshaken by the winds of change. You do not need to rush to prove your worth or to secure your place in the world. Your worth is inherent, your place assured, and in that assurance, there is peace. There is a story of a farmer who planted his seeds and then sat by the field, watching and waiting for them to grow. Day after day, he would return, hoping to see the first green shoots breaking through the soil. But nothing happened. Frustrated, he began to dig up the seeds one by one to see why they had not sprouted. Of course, in doing so, he destroyed any chance they had to grow. The lesson is clear. Growth cannot be forced. It requires time, patience, and trust. You cannot dig up the seeds of your own life, demanding to see results before they are ready. You must let them be, let them grow in their own time. The mind is like a restless bird flitting from branch to branch, never settling for long. It is always searching, always seeking, always wanting. But the heart is different. The heart knows how to wait, how to rest in the stillness, how to trust in the unseen. When you feel the pull of impatience, when the urge to rush becomes overwhelming, turn to your heart. Let it remind you of the deeper rhythm, the one that moves beneath the surface of things. Let it guide you back to the present moment where everything is as it should be. There is a kind of wisdom in waiting, a kind of strength in stillness. It is the wisdom of the tree that stands through the storm, bending but not breaking. It is the strength of the stone that endures the passage of time, unchanged and unyielding. You too can draw on this wisdom, this strength. You do not need to rush to prove your resilience or to assert your presence. Your resilience is in your patience, your presence in your stillness. And in that, there is a quiet power, one that does not need to shout to be heard. The world will always try to pull you into its frenzy, to make you believe that you must hurry, that you must keep up, that you must not fall behind. But you do not have to listen. You can choose a different path, one that moves at a slower pace, one that honors the natural rhythm of your being. You can choose to walk instead of run, to pause instead of push, to breathe instead of gasp. And in that choice, there is a kind of rebellion, a quiet defiance of the world's demands. It is a declaration that you will not be ruled by time, that you will not be defined by speed. You will move at the pace of your own heart, and in that, you will find your freedom. There is a kind of beauty in the waiting, a kind of grace in the not yet. It is the beauty of the dawn, when the world is still and the light is just beginning to creep over the horizon. It is the grace of the bud, when the flower is still hidden, its potential not yet realized. You too are in a state of becoming, and in that state, there is a kind of magic. You do not need to rush to the end, to the finished product, to the final destination. The magic is in the process, in the unfolding, in the journey itself. And in that, there is a deep and abiding joy. So let go of the need to hurry, the need to control, the need to know. Let yourself be carried by the current, guided by the rhythm, held by the stillness. Trust that everything comes in its time, that everything unfolds as it should. And in that trust, there is a kind of peace, a kind of freedom, a kind of homecoming. You are exactly where you need to be, exactly as you are. And in that, there is everything. The world moves in its own rhythm, a quiet symphony of moments unfolding at the pace of an ancient tree growing toward the sky. You too are part of this rhythm, though you may not always feel it. There is a tendency to rush, to push against the current of life as though it were a river you could bend to your will. But rivers do not hurry, nor do they linger. They simply flow, carving their path through the earth with a patience born of millennia. When you stand at the river's edge, do you tell it to move faster? Do you demand that it carry you to the ocean before you are ready to leave the shore? No. You watch, you listen, and in time, you understand that the river knows its way. It does not need your impatience to guide it. Life, too, has its own timing, a rhythm that cannot be forced or hastened. The seed does not sprout because you wish it to. It emerges when the soil is ready, when the sun and rain have done their work. In the same way, the answers you seek, the peace you long for, will come not because you demand them, but because the conditions are right. This is not a call to passivity, but an invitation to trust. Trust that the universe is not withholding from you, that the delays you perceive are not punishments, but preparations. The Buddha taught that all things arise and pass away according to causes and conditions. Nothing is permanent, not even your waiting. What feels like an eternity in the moment is but a breath in the grand expanse of time. When you find yourself restless, yearning for what has not yet come, pause and consider the oak tree. It does not fret over its slow growth, nor does it compare itself to the sapling beside it. It simply grows, season by season, ring by ring, until it stands tall and strong, its roots deep and unshakable. You too are growing, even when it feels as though nothing is happening. Each moment of waiting, each breath of patience, is another ring in the tree of your life. There is no wasted time, no moment that does not contribute to the whole. Even the stillness, the apparent emptiness, is part of the process. There is a story of a monk who sat for years in meditation, waiting for enlightenment. One day a bird perched on his shoulder and sang a song so beautiful that the monk wept. In that moment, he realized that enlightenment had been with him all along, hidden in the ordinary moments, the quiet spaces between his thoughts. He had been so focused on the destination that he had missed the journey. This is the paradox of patience. It is not about waiting for something to happen, but about being fully present in the unfolding of what already is. When you stop rushing, when you release the need to control the timing of your life, you begin to see that everything you need is already here, waiting for you to notice it. Consider the seasons. They do not hurry, nor do they resist change. Winter does not cling to its snow, nor does summer demand that the sun linger longer in the sky. Each season knows its place, its purpose, and yields to the next with grace. You too are in a season, a chapter of your life that will one day give way to another. The question is not how to move faster, but how to fully inhabit the season you are in. What does it have to teach you? What beauty does it hold that you might miss if you are always looking ahead? The cherry blossoms bloom for only a few days, but their brevity is part of their perfection. To wish them to last longer is to miss the point entirely. Patience is not merely the ability to wait. It is the ability to find peace in the waiting. It is the recognition that life is not a race, but a dance, and you are both the dancer and the dance. When you move with the rhythm rather than against it, you begin to feel a deep sense of connection to the flow of all things. You begin to see that the delays, the obstacles, the moments of stillness are not interruptions, but part of the melody. The river does not resent the rocks in its path. It flows around them, over them, and in time wears them smooth. This is the wisdom of patience. It teaches you to flow, to adapt, to trust that the current is carrying you where you need to go. There is a quiet power in surrender, in releasing the need to control the uncontrollable. The more you try to force life to align with your expectations, the more you create resistance, like a swimmer fighting against the tide. But when you relax, when you allow yourself to be carried, you begin to move with the current rather than against it. This does not mean giving up or becoming passive. It means choosing to align yourself with the natural flow of life. It means trusting that the universe is not your adversary, but your ally, guiding you toward your highest good. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment, from clinging to what cannot be held. When you cling to a specific outcome, to a particular timeline, you create suffering for yourself. But when you release your grip, when you open your hands and let life unfold as it will, you find a profound sense of freedom. You begin to see that the peace you seek is not in the future, but in the present moment. It is in the breath you take right now, in the way the light filters through the trees, in the sound of the wind moving through the grass. These are the gifts of patience, the ability to see, to hear, to feel, to be fully alive in the here and now. Take a moment to close your eyes and breathe. Feel the weight of your body, the rhythm of your heart. Notice the thoughts that arise, but do not hold on to them. Let them pass like clouds across the sky. In this moment, there is no past, no future, only the infinite now. This is the space where patience lives, where peace is found. It is not something you need to achieve or attain. It is something you already are. You are the river, the tree, the season. You are part of the great unfolding, the endless dance of life. And in this dance, there is no need to hurry, no need to wait. Everything comes in its own time, and when it does, you will be ready. The world moves in rhythms unseen, like the slow unfurling of a fern in the shadowed forest. You too are part of this rhythm, though often you may feel out of step, rushing ahead or lagging behind, as if the tempo of life were a melody you could not quite catch. But listen closely and you will hear it. The steady pulse of existence, the heartbeat of the universe. It is not a call to hurry, nor a demand to wait. It is an invitation to be present, to trust that all things arrive in their own time, like the first light of dawn after the longest night. Imagine the earth in early spring. The ground is still cold, the air sharp with the remnants of winter. Yet beneath the surface, life stirs. Seeds buried deep in the soil feel the faint warmth of the sun and begin to awaken. They do not rush to break through the earth, nor do they resist the process. They simply respond to the conditions around them, growing at the pace that is right for them. You too are like these seeds. Your growth, your unfolding, cannot be forced. It happens in its own time, in its own way. To resist this natural rhythm is to create suffering, to strain against the very fabric of life. Consider the lotus, which rises from the mud to bloom in the sunlight. Its journey is not swift, nor is it easy. It must push through the darkness, through the weight of the water, before it can emerge into the light. And yet it does not despair. It does not question its path. It simply grows, trusting that the light will come. You too are like the lotus. Your struggles, your challenges are not obstacles to be overcome, but part of the process of becoming. They are the mud from which you will rise, the darkness that will give way to light. Patience is not passive. It is not a resignation to fate, nor a surrender to circumstance. It is an active engagement with the present moment, a willingness to be where you are, as you are, without judgment or resistance. It is the recognition that life is not a race to be won, but a journey to be savored. Each moment, each experience is a gift, a piece of the puzzle that is your life. To rush through it is to miss the beauty, the depth, the meaning that it holds. Think of the mountain, standing tall and unmoving against the passage of time. It does not fret over the changing seasons, nor does it resist the storms that rage against its slopes. It simply is, a testament to the power of stillness, of presence. You too can be like the mountain. You can stand firm in the face of life's challenges, not by fighting against them, but by accepting them, by allowing them to pass through you like the wind through the trees. In this acceptance, you will find a deep and abiding peace, a sense of calm that cannot be shaken. The river does not question its course. It flows where it must, carving its path through the landscape with a quiet determination. It does not resist the rocks that block its way, nor does it hurry to reach the sea. It simply moves, trusting that it will arrive where it needs to be. You too are like the river. Your life has a course, a direction, even if you cannot always see it. Trust in this flow, in the wisdom of the universe, and you will find that you are always exactly where you need to be. There is a time for everything, a time to plant, a time to harvest, a time to rest, a time to grow. You cannot force the seasons to change, nor can you rush the process of life. To try is to create tension, to build a wall between yourself and the natural flow of existence. Instead, let go of the need to control, to manipulate, to force. Allow life to unfold as it will, and you will find that it is far more beautiful, far more profound than anything you could have planned. In the stillness of the forest, there is a deep and abiding peace. The trees do not rush to grow, nor do the animals hurry through their days. They simply are, living in harmony with the rhythms of the earth. You too can find this peace, this harmony, if you are willing to slow down, to be present, to trust in the natural flow of life. It is not something that can be achieved or attained or won. It is something that is already within you, waiting to be discovered. The sun does not rise because it is in a hurry to light the world. It rises because it is its nature to do so. In the same way, your growth, your unfolding, is not something that can be rushed. It is your nature, your essence, and it will happen in its own time. Trust in this process, in the wisdom of your own being, and you will find that everything you need is already within you. Life is not a problem to be solved, nor a puzzle to be figured out. It is a mystery to be lived, a journey to be experienced. There is no need to hurry, no need to rush. Everything will come in its own time, like the first bloom of spring, the first light of dawn. All you need to do is be present, to trust in the flow of life, and to know that you are exactly where you need to be. The world moves in rhythms unseen, like the slow unfurling of a fern in the shadowed forest. You too are part of this rhythm, though often you may feel out of step, rushing ahead or lagging behind, as if the tempo of life were a melody you could not quite catch. But listen closely and you will hear it. The steady pulse of existence, the heartbeat of the universe. It is not hurried, nor is it delayed. It simply is. And in its presence, there is a lesson, one that whispers to you in the rustle of leaves and the sigh of the wind. Do not rush. Everything comes in its time. Imagine the lotus, rooted in the mud, its petals tightly closed. It does not force itself to bloom under the harsh glare of the sun, nor does it despair when the rains come and go. It waits, patient and still, until the moment is right. And when it opens, it is not for the approval of the world, but because it has reached its fullness, its readiness. You too are like the lotus. Your growth, your unfolding, cannot be hastened by will alone. It is a process, a dance with time. And in that dance, there is beauty, even in the waiting. Consider the seasons, how they turn with a quiet inevitability. Winter does not begrudge the spring for its tardiness, nor does summer rush to make way for autumn. Each has its place, its purpose. And so it is with the seasons of your life. There are times of barrenness, when the ground of your soul feels frozen and unyielding. There are times of abundance, when joy spills over like a river in flood. And there are times of letting go, when the leaves of your attachments fall away, leaving you bare and vulnerable. Yet in each season, there is a lesson, a gift, if only you have the patience to receive it. Patience is not passivity. It is not resignation or indifference. It is a deep trust in the flow of life, a recognition that you are not the sole author of your story. There are forces at work beyond your understanding, currents that carry you even when you cannot see the shore. To be patient is to surrender to these currents, not with fear, but with faith. It is to know that the river of life will carry you where you need to go, even if the journey is longer or more winding than you had hoped. Think of the mountain, standing tall and unmoving against the sky. It does not fret when the clouds obscure its peak, nor does it rejoice when the sun bathes its slopes in light. It simply is, rooted in its own stillness. You too can find this stillness within yourself, a place of calm amidst the chaos of the world. It is not a stillness that denies the movement of life, but one that embraces it, that sees the impermanence of all things and yet remains unshaken. In this stillness, there is peace, a peace that does not depend on circumstances, but arises from within. There is a story of a monk who planted a tree and watered it every day, though it showed no signs of growth. Years passed, and still the tree remained small and stunted. The monk's disciples urged him to give up, to plant another tree in its place, but the monk simply smiled and continued his daily ritual. Then one day the tree suddenly shot up, its branches reaching for the sky, its roots deep and strong. The disciples marveled at its transformation, but the monk only said, "Everything comes in its time." You too may feel as though your efforts are in vain, as though the seeds you have planted will never bear fruit. But trust in the unseen, in the slow, silent work of time. What is meant for you will come, not a moment sooner, not a moment later. In the quiet moments when the world falls away and you are left with only yourself, ask this question. What is it that you are rushing toward? What is it that you fear you will miss? Often the answer lies not in the future, but in the present, in the here and now. The present moment is all you ever have, and yet it is the one thing you are most eager to escape. But in the present, there is everything you need. Peace, joy, connection. It is not a destination to be reached, but a gift to be received, if only you have the patience to open your hands and your heart. There is a kind of wisdom in waiting, a wisdom that cannot be learned from books or taught in schools. It is the wisdom of the earth, of the stars, of the endless cycle of life and death and rebirth. It is the wisdom of knowing that you are enough, just as you are, and that everything you need is already within you. You do not need to strive or struggle or prove yourself. You only need to be, to trust, to wait. And in that waiting, you will find a kind of freedom, a release from the tyranny of time and the illusion of control. The world will tell you to hurry, to achieve, to accumulate. It will measure your worth by your accomplishments and your possessions. But the deeper truth is that you are not defined by what you do or what you have. You are defined by who you are, by the essence of your being, which is timeless and unchanging. And that essence is not something you can lose or gain. It is simply there, waiting to be discovered, like a treasure buried in the depths of your soul. So take a breath and let it out slowly. Feel the weight of the world lift from your shoulders, if only for a moment. You are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do. There is no need to rush, no need to worry. Everything comes in its time. And when it does, you will know, not with your mind but with your heart, that it was worth the wait. The world moves in rhythms unseen, like the slow unfurling of a fern in the shadowed forest. You too are part of this rhythm, though often you may feel out of step, rushing ahead or lagging behind, as if the tempo of life were a melody you could not quite catch. But listen closely and you will hear it, the steady pulse of existence, the heartbeat of the universe. It is not hurried, nor is it delayed. It simply is. And in its presence, there is a lesson, one that whispers to you in the rustle of leaves and the sigh of the wind. Do not rush. Everything comes in its time. Imagine the lotus, rooted in the mud, its petals tightly closed. It does not strain against the darkness, nor does it despair in the murky waters. It waits, patient and still, knowing that the sun will rise, that the warmth will come, that its time to bloom will arrive. And when it does, it is not because the lotus has willed it, but because the conditions have aligned, the moment has ripened. You too are like the lotus. Your growth, your unfolding, cannot be forced. It is a process, a dance with time. And in that dance, there is no need to lead. Simply follow and trust. Consider the seasons, how they turn with a grace that defies impatience. Winter does not begrudge the spring for its tardiness, nor does summer rush to make way for autumn. Each season knows its place, its purpose, and in its own time, it arrives, bringing with it the gifts of its unique essence. You too are a part of this cycle. There are winters in your life, times of stillness and introspection, when the world seems barren and cold. And there are springs when new possibilities burst forth like blossoms after rain. Do not resist the seasons of your being. They are not mistakes, nor are they punishments. They are simply the natural flow of your existence, and in their unfolding, there is wisdom. Patience is not passivity. It is not a surrender to fate or resignation to circumstance. It is an active engagement with the present moment, a deep trust in the process of life. When you are patient, you are like the mountain, steadfast and unmoving, yet deeply connected to the earth and the sky. You do not need to chase after what you desire, nor do you need to cling to what you fear losing. You simply are, and in that being, you allow life to move through you, like the wind through the trees, like the river through the valley. The river does not question its path. It does not fret over the rocks that block its way or the bends that slow its flow. It moves with a quiet certainty, knowing that it will reach the sea in its own time. And when it encounters an obstacle, it does not fight against it. It flows around it, over it, through it, always finding a way. You too are like the river. Your life is a journey, and though the path may be uncertain, though there may be obstacles and detours, you are always moving forward. Trust in the flow. Trust in the journey. Trust in the timing of your life. There is a story of a farmer who planted his seeds and then sat by his field, watching and waiting. Day after day, he would stare at the soil, willing the plants to grow. But no matter how much he wished, the seeds remained hidden beneath the earth. Frustrated, he began to dig, hoping to speed up the process. But in his haste, he damaged the tender shoots, and the crop was ruined. The farmer learned a hard lesson that day. Growth cannot be rushed. It happens in its own time, in its own way. You too must learn to wait, to trust in the unseen, to believe in the process. The seeds you have planted, your dreams, your hopes, your intentions, will grow, but only when the time is right. In the stillness of meditation, you may find a glimpse of this truth. As you sit in silence watching the rise and fall of your breath, you begin to see that everything has its own rhythm, its own pace. The breath does not hurry, nor does it linger. It simply is. And in that simplicity, there is a profound peace. You realize that you do not need to control the breath, just as you do not need to control the flow of your life. You can simply be present, allowing each moment to unfold as it will, trusting that it is exactly as it should be. There is a beauty in patience, a grace in waiting. It is the beauty of the sunrise, which cannot be hastened, and the grace of the moon, which rises in its own time. When you embrace patience, you align yourself with the natural order of things, and in that alignment, there is a deep sense of harmony. You no longer feel the need to push or pull, to strive or struggle. You simply are. And in that being, you find a peace that surpasses understanding. Do not mistake patience for inaction. It is not a refusal to engage with life, but a way of engaging that is rooted in trust and acceptance. When you are patient, you are like the gardener who tends to the soil, knowing that the seeds will sprout when they are ready. You do not need to dig them up to check on their progress. You simply water the earth, pull the weeds, and wait. And in that waiting, there is a quiet joy, a sense of connection to the cycles of life. The world is full of noise, of distractions, of demands. It is easy to get caught up in the rush, to feel that you must always be doing, always be moving, always be achieving. But beneath the surface, there is a deeper truth, a quieter voice. It is the voice of the earth, of the sky, of the stars. It is the voice of your own heart, whispering to you in moments of stillness. Do not rush. Everything comes in its time. Listen to that voice. Trust in its wisdom. And as you do, you will find that patience is not a burden, but a gift. It is the gift of presence, of peace, of connection. It is the gift of knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, and that everything you need will come to you when the time is right. So take a deep breath and let go of the need to hurry. The world will wait for you, and in that waiting there is a beauty that cannot be rushed. The world moves in rhythms unseen, like the slow unfurling of a fern in the shadowed forest. You too are part of this rhythm, though often you may feel out of step, rushing ahead or lagging behind, as if the tempo of life were a melody you could not quite catch. But listen closely and you will hear it. The steady pulse of existence, the heartbeat of the universe. It is not hurried, nor is it delayed. It simply is. And in its presence there is a lesson, one that whispers to you in the rustle of leaves and the sigh of the wind. Do not rush. Everything comes in its time. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast meadow, the kind where the grass sways in waves and the horizon stretches endlessly. You are waiting for something, perhaps an answer, a change, a moment of clarity. The waiting feels heavy, like a stone in your chest. and you wonder if you should move, act, or force the world to bend to your will. But the meadow does not hurry. It does not strain against the seasons. In spring, it blooms. In winter, it rests. It knows that time is not an enemy, but a companion, a guide that leads all things to their rightful place. Can you too learn to wait with such grace? Patience is not passivity. It is not the absence of action, but the presence of trust. Think of the bamboo, which spends years growing its roots deep into the earth before it shoots upward, tall and strong in a matter of weeks. To the untrained eye, it may seem as though nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, there is a quiet, steady work being done. You too are like the bamboo. The moments when it feels as though you are standing still, when the world seems to move on without you, are the moments when you are growing in ways you cannot yet see. Trust the process. Trust the unseen hands that shape your life. There is a story of a monk who planted a tree in his garden. Each day he watered it, tended to it, and waited for it to grow. But the tree remained small, its leaves sparse, its branches thin. The monk's disciples grew impatient. "Why do you waste your time on this tree?" they asked. "It will never bear fruit." The monk smiled and said, "I do not plant the tree for myself. I plant it for the generations to come." And so he continued to care for it year after year until one day, long after the monk had passed, the tree stood tall and strong, its branches heavy with fruit. The monk understood what so many of us forget, that some things cannot be rushed, that the fruits of our labor are not always for us to enjoy, and that patience is a gift we give to the future. You may find yourself yearning for answers, for resolution, for the next chapter of your life to begin. But life is not a book to be read in haste. It is a river winding and meandering, sometimes slow, sometimes swift, but always moving toward the sea. You cannot control its course, nor can you predict its twists and turns. All you can do is flow with it, trusting that it will carry you where you need to go. The river does not ask, "Why am I not there yet?" It simply flows, and in its flowing, it finds its way. There is a deep wisdom in the natural world, a wisdom that speaks of cycles and seasons, of growth and decay, of beginnings and endings. The cherry blossom does not cling to its petals when the wind blows. It lets them fall, knowing that in their falling, there is beauty. The moon does not resist its waning. It embraces its phases, knowing that it will be full again. Can you too learn to let go of your need for control, to embrace the ebb and flow of your own life? Can you find peace in the waiting, in the not knowing, in the space between what was and what will be? Patience is not the absence of desire, but the transformation of it. It is the understanding that what you seek is already on its way, that the universe is not withholding, but preparing. Think of the caterpillar, wrapped in its cocoon, undergoing a metamorphosis it cannot yet comprehend. To the outside world, it may seem as though nothing is happening, but inside there is a profound and sacred transformation taking place. You too are in a cocoon of sorts, a space of becoming. The waiting, the uncertainty, the stillness. These are not signs of stagnation, but of growth. Trust that you are being shaped, molded, prepared for what is to come. There is a quiet strength in patience, a strength that comes from knowing that you are part of something greater than yourself. The stars do not rush to light the sky. They simply shine when it is their time. The seasons do not hurry to change. They unfold in their own rhythm. And you too are part of this cosmic dance, this grand symphony of existence. Your life is not a race to be won, but a journey to be savored, a story to be lived. Do not rush. Everything comes in its time. In the stillness, in the waiting, there is a gift, a chance to be present, to be here, now, in this moment. The past is gone, the future is not yet here, and all that remains is this breath, this heartbeat, this now. Can you find peace in the present, even as you wait for what is to come? Can you see the beauty in the unfolding, Even when the path is unclear, the world is not in a hurry, and neither should you be. Trust the rhythm, the flow, the timing of your life. Everything comes in its time.